They told us silence was empty, boring, even awkward. But what if I told you that silence is the most powerful force you've been avoiding? In a world addicted to noise, your greatest superpower might be doing nothing. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the truth. Silence isn't just about muting the world. It's about unlocking the universe inside you. While everyone else is scrolling, shouting, and overstimulated, the ones who thrive are tuning inward. And they're finding clarity, healing, and a sense of self most people never touch. The noise out there is designed to keep you out of here, out of your own mind, out of your own truth. It's not just distraction, it's disconnection. And yet, in the stillness you avoid, lives the voice you've been dying to hear, your own. This isn't new age fluff. Carl Jung, mystics, and great thinkers throughout time have pointed to silence as a sacred doorway to individuation, awakening, and peace. You don't need more information. You need to listen to the space between thoughts. That's where transformation begins. And if you're still thinking, but I don't have time for silence, ask yourself this. How much time have you wasted being disconnected from who you really are? In this video, we're not just going to talk about the power of silence. We're going to experience its wisdom. You'll discover why silence is the antidote to anxiety, the cure for confusion, and the path to transcendence. Ready to hear what your soul's been whispering all along? The transformative power of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. People think it's just the absence of sound, like muting a TV or walking into an empty room. But true silence isn't about what's missing. It's about what's present. It's a state of deep awareness where the noise of the external world fades just enough for you to hear something far more subtle, your inner voice. Carl Jung understood this as part of the individuation process, where the unconscious mind begins to reveal hidden truths through quiet inner dialogue. In a world obsessed with speaking, posting, and reacting, silence becomes a radical act of presence, a rebellion against noise. Those who walk the path of transformation eventually meet silence not as a void, but as a guide. It's in the stillness that one begins to access the unconscious mind, where the archetypes live and whisper. This quiet is the bridge between the shadow and the self, inviting a level of self-awareness that can't be accessed when we're constantly bombarded by opinions, alerts, and expectations. Meditation, journaling, or simply staring at the sky for 10 uninterrupted minutes can become powerful tools for self-discovery, if done with genuine presence. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence without reaching for your phone or trying to fill the moment with noise? Most people are terrified of what might come up, but that's where the gold is hidden. In the uncomfortable silence, the mind reveals its illusions, its fears, and its conditioned thoughts. Psychoanalysis thrives on these moments. This is where deep healing and transformation begin. Not with another podcast, but with the courage to sit in the stillness of your own mind. Practical philosophy isn't about abstract theories. It's about learning how to live. And silence is the cornerstone of the art of living. Want to awaken your intuition? Begin by reducing external influences. Want to develop discernment? Step away from the noise of others' judgments. If you're looking for practice, try a 10-minute silence walk each day. No music, no talking, just observation. Let your conscience guide your attention like a lantern through the fog of everyday life. You'll be shocked at what you begin to see. This isn't about becoming a monk in the mountains. This is about learning to breathe with the rhythm of the universe while living in a busy city. In silence, you'll find clarity. In stillness, you'll access wisdom. And the deeper you go, the more you'll discover that silence isn't empty. It's full of everything you've been running from, including your own infinite potential. And what happens when that silence begins to illuminate reality itself? Well, that's where things really start to get interesting. Silence as a gateway to clarity and enlightenment. Silence doesn't just create space, it sharpens vision. When the external noise fades, our perception expands inward, revealing what's been hidden beneath the static. Carl Jung often pointed to the importance of facing one's unconscious in quiet contemplation. Without distraction, the mind begins to untangle its own webs. It's like standing before a foggy mirror that finally clears. You don't just see yourself, you understand yourself. Through this clarity, we begin to distinguish between who we are and who the world told us to be. Clarity is never accidental, it's cultivated. And silence is the soil where that clarity grows. Most people live trapped in illusions, chasing appearances and external validations. They're seduced by expectations, addicted to attention, lost in the surface of things. But silence demands that we drop the mask. It reveals how shallow our distractions really are and invites us to go deeper, past the mind's chatter into the stillness of presence. That's where truth lives. Not in arguments, but in awareness. Try this. Before making a big decision, instead of overthinking or texting 10 friends, just sit in silence. Breathe. Listen to what your inner voice says before your fear interrupts. In that sacred space, you tap into intuition, real, powerful, divine wisdom that doesn't shout, it whispers. Artists, mystics, philosophers, they've always known this. Enlightenment doesn't descend from a lightning bolt. It emerges in stillness, slowly, like the first light at dawn. The universe doesn't speak in noise, it speaks in silence. The human mind is constantly scanning for threats, rewards, distractions, anything to keep it stimulated. But in silence, it has no choice but to confront itself. That's where meditation becomes more than a habit. It becomes a mirror. The more one observes in stillness, the clearer the truth becomes. Our illusions begin to dissolve, and what's left is raw, radiant consciousness. You begin to see with eyes unclouded by fear or desire. And that vision, that's what ancient traditions called enlightenment. This path isn't about retreating from life. It's about seeing life as it truly is. The noise of the world might be loud, but the wisdom of silence is louder within. The more you practice presence, the more reality unfolds itself like a map, guiding you not just towards self-reflection, but to something far greater than the self. And yet, the modern world has declared war on silence, which is where we're heading next. Modern society's resistance to silence and its consequences. Have you noticed how silence makes people uncomfortable? In today's world, it's almost taboo. The moment there's a pause in conversation, someone checks their phone. Elevators play music. Waiting rooms blast television. Even restrooms have ads. Society is built to avoid stillness at all costs. But this obsession with noise isn't innocent. It disconnects us from the inner life. Carl Jung warned that modern man risks losing his soul by escaping into distractions. And that's exactly what's happening. The overstimulation of our daily environment has a price. Notifications, endless content, background noise. It keeps the mind busy but shallow. We scroll endlessly, not for information, but to avoid ourselves. The human mind, overwhelmed, loses discernment. It can no longer tell illusion from truth or anxiety from intuition. This isn't just a problem for monks or philosophers. It's affecting everyone's conscience, identity, and ability to engage in meaningful self-reflection. You can't hear your inner voice if you're always tuned into someone else's broadcast. So how do we reclaim our inner space? Start with micro moments of silence. Try spending the first 5 minutes of your morning in stillness. No phone, no music, just breath and being. Go for a walk without earbuds. Eat one meal in silence, noticing every flavor. These moments might feel awkward at first, but they're powerful. They rewire the mind for awareness and deepen your connection to the self. That's not just meditation. That's practical philosophy in action. That's healing. The resistance to silence is often fear in disguise. Fear of what we might feel. Fear of realizing how much of our day is driven by avoidance. But this fear is a doorway. Behind it lies transformation, awakening, and clarity. Society doesn't want you to pause. It wants you productive, distracted, consuming. But silence reveals the illusions of the system and reintroduces you to your infinite potential. It's not an escape. It's a return to truth. Stillness isn't a luxury. It's survival for the modern soul. Without silence, there is no space for individuation, no room for wisdom, no chance of transcendence. And the longer we resist it, the more fragmented we become. But here's the twist. What if silence isn't just healing? What if it's medicine? A sacred space where real inner restoration begins? The healing and rejuvenating aspects of silence. Silence has a way of holding us when nothing else can. It doesn't try to fix us, rush us, or explain our pain. It simply allows us to be. In that stillness, healing unfolds. Carl Jung knew that the psyche craves integration, and integration requires a quiet container. Silence becomes that sacred ground where fragmented parts of the self begin to speak, reconcile, and reassemble. It's where the unconscious finally feels safe enough to surface, not to be judged, but to be heard. In the rush of modern life, most people suppress their emotional wounds just to keep going. But silence invites us to stop and sit with our humanity. This isn't always pretty. Old fears rise. Doubts echo. Grief lingers. But this is the necessary mess before the restoration. Just like a wound must be cleaned before it heals, the psyche must be acknowledged before it can transform. Contemplation, breath work, or even lying on the floor in stillness can help open that internal space for healing to occur. Try this. Set a timer for 15 minutes, turn everything off, and sit. Breathe deeply and gently ask, what do I need right now? At first, it might feel like nothing happens, but soon, buried emotions bubble up. You might feel tears without a story, or peace without reason. That's the unconscious releasing pressure. That's wisdom moving through you. And if you keep showing up, that space becomes a daily sanctuary, a temple within, available at any moment. Silence also allows you to reconnect with your true self, the part of you untouched by labels, roles, and expectations. It's where identity becomes essence, not performance. This is what psychoanalysis aims for, a return to wholeness. Your inner voice begins to re-emerge with clarity, your energy centers recalibrate, and your sense of self becomes rooted in presence instead of performance. That's not self-help fluff. That's existential healing, the kind modern medicine can't always reach. Healing doesn't require noise. It requires space. And the deeper that space, the more transformative the healing. But something remarkable happens when silence becomes a habit. It starts to change not just how you feel, but how you see reality itself. The illusions begin to fall away. Time slows. Existence starts to shimmer with a strange, sacred glow, and this leads us straight to something far more transcendent. Silence as a path to universal truth and transcendence. There's a silence so deep, it doesn't just soothe the mind, it dissolves it. Not in a destructive way, but in a liberating one. When the chatter stops, the ego loosens its grip, and we start to see with different eyes. Carl Jung spoke of the numinous experience, those encounters with something vast and eternal within us. And often, that gateway opens not through noise or striving, but through stillness. In silence, the self and the universe meet, not as two, but as one. This is where illusion begins to crumble. The identities we cling to, our name, our job, our opinions, start to look like costumes. We see that time isn't what we thought it was. Mortality loses its sting. We stop grasping at things and begin to feel a quiet, radical peace. In that awareness, the lines between life and death, self and other, begin to blur. This is the space where truth lives, not the relative truth of arguments, but the eternal truth of being. People often chase transcendence through travel, substances, or status, not realizing that the door they're looking for is always open, always within. Stillness is the teacher they've been ignoring. Through practices like deep meditation, solitude retreats, or simply lying beneath the stars in wordless presence, the human mind expands beyond the personal into the cosmic. You feel connected not just to yourself, but to the divine rhythm of creation. And in that connection, you remember who you've always been. This isn't about becoming spiritual. It's about becoming real. Silence strips away the false. It purifies perception. It tunes your awareness to a frequency where you no longer seek meaning. You embody it. The shadow no longer haunts you because it's been integrated. The unconscious no longer controls you because it's become your ally. You don't fear death because you've met the eternal part of yourself that never dies. You've awakened, not through fireworks, but through stillness. And this is only the beginning, because once you've tasted that timeless peace, something within you shifts. You begin to listen differently, speak less, love deeper, fear less, act from truth, not conditioning. You become a living bridge between the seen and unseen. But how do you carry this wisdom forward in daily life? Well, that's where your real journey begins. So now that you've glimpsed the truth behind silence, what are you going to do with it? Will you go back to the noise, the scrolling, the distractions that keep you disconnected? Or will you dare to pause, to breathe, to listen, really listen? Because silence isn't just a break from life. It is life. The version of you you've been seeking isn't hidden in another podcast, another quote, or another app. It's waiting patiently in the quiet moments you keep skipping. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you felt truly present? When you weren't reacting, performing, or proving anything? Imagine making silence your ally instead of your enemy. What would your mind sound like if it wasn't repeating everyone else's thoughts? How would your relationships shift if you brought clarity instead of chaos? You don't have to move to the mountains or abandon your life. You just need to reclaim a piece of it with intention, awareness, and stillness. Now it's your turn. Take what you've learned and practice it. Sit in silence today, just 5 minutes. Close your eyes and breathe like the universe is exhaling through you. Let that silence speak, and then tell me, what did you hear? Drop your experience in the comments below, and let's grow this dialogue. And hey, if you're ready to keep diving into truth, transformation, and inner power, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next journey inward. Peace begins in stillness. Are you ready?